You know, I never thought that a line about cheeseburgers is gonna hit me right in the feels and almost make me tear up, but I like cheeseburgers. Hello, everyone. My name is Daidarius, and welcome to the spoiler review for Avengers Endgame. That is right, this is a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen Endgame, why are you even here? I mean, either you have followed along with the MCU movies and you want to see Endgame, or you haven't followed along with the MCU movies. So why are you interested in a spoiler review for it? Anyway, I'm glad you're here, but just remember that this is your spoiler warning, so if you haven't seen it and you don't want to get spoiled, then you should have, read the title of this video. But just consider this as your official... just gonna do this. Spoiler warning. Oh, just gonna... It looks better anyway. Spoiler warning. As is tradition with my spoiler reviews, I'm gonna post the pros or list the pros and cons, or just a few pros and a few cons that I have picked from this movie, just to discuss them in depth so we can get kind of a view of how does this movie balance the pros and cons, and how much does the pros or the cons outweigh the other. So yeah, that's self-explanatory. So I need a list. So fucking yeah. Now with the list ready, I think we should start out with the pros, because you always start out with the pros. So anyway, let's jump into it. First of all, I would like to talk about the tone after the snap. I touched upon it briefly in my spoiler-free review, but just the tone in this movie, especially after the snap and just the first, 30 minutes of this movie. I just love the fact that everyone is frustrated and sad and depressed, and they don't know how to feel or how to do anything about it, because what can they do? Thanos is gone. I mean, they go after him, they kill Thanos, and then they're left with nothing because the Infinity Stones is gone. So his decision was kind of final, and everyone is just... they don't know how to act, and I just love the fact that the movie presented a realistic approach of how to deal with such a devastating event, and just how it affects everything in this movie. Every character's decision is based upon the tone of this movie. The fact that everyone is desperate and angry and misses their loved ones and friends and family and anyone. And even when you get to the ending isn't as happy as we thought it would be. Yes, we get a lot of people back, but we also lose a lot of them on the way. So just the tone in general is the most dire, dark, gritty tone that we have had in any MCU movie. So they kind of went DC and U on this one, but I liked it. Which leads into the desperation aspect of this movie. Just the fact that they have one shot to pull this heist, time heist as I call it, off, raises the stake, and everyone knows that they can't fuck up, because if they do, they're not gonna get their friends back. And I know there is a plot hole, because the movie even addresses it. They could just have gone back in time, find Hank Pym, stolen a lot of his Pym particles, and then jump to the future and then have a whole case of him. I know that, but let's just ignore that for a second and just focus on the desperation aspect. Just look at how Hawkeye and Natalie is trying to figure out a way where they're both gonna get out of this alive, and failing on that. Just focus on the fact that Tony Stark and Captain America needs to do another jump where they might not come back if they can't find the Pym particles, or if they haven't gotten to the correct year or anything, and then it will be stuck there. Just the fact that Nebula gets kidnapped and is now presenting information to Thanos and his men that is gonna fuck everything up for our main heroes. Every moment in this movie just ooze with desperation, and I love it. And also that's one of the reasons why this movie is more dark than any one movie that came before it. But it just elevates everything in this movie that is all just desperation, and that is pretty much it. They have nothing left beside this, and if they fail, then Thanos won for real. Then there's this movie unpredictability. I mean, some of it is thanks to the trailers because they didn't reveal anything. I mean, a lot of the shots they used in the trailer was manipulated because it showed people that were there and people that were not there and the form they were. I mean, Bruce Banner was Bruce Banner in the trailers, but he's now Bruce Hulk or Hulk Banner. That's abomination. But it's the fact that this movie kept me guessing was a nice touch because everyone has theorized this movie to death for the past year, and all of us, after we saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, knew they're gonna use these time holes or anything in the quantum realm to make a time machine or just time jump in some kind of aspect. But we didn't know why they wanted to use these time jumps. We thought they just want to go back before the snap and then stop Thanos from doing it, but no, they're gonna go find all of these Infinity Stones and then use them in the present time before they then have to deliver them back before they took, or just right after they took them. And then you get to the end fight, and I didn't even think about that the final fight was going to be on Earth, but it didn't. It just happened suddenly, and then Thanos was there, and I didn't know how they're going to use Thanos because his story was kind of, done. And then you see the beginning of this movie, and then, he's dead, he's gone. But no, he has a lot of fight left in him. So I never knew where this movie was going to take. And even in the ending, I mean, I knew that Iron Man was going to sacrifice himself. I'm pretty sure everyone saw it coming. How he did it, not many saw coming, I guess. I was always guessing what's going to happen next. I knew nothing about it. And this movie just took me for an awesome ride without me knowing where we were going. So now we are 30% through the pros. Yay. Another thing I liked about this movie is the focus on emotions. Everyone is extremely emotional. Tony Stark is outright hating Captain America when he comes back because he kind of accuses him the fact that they lost. And I kind of see why, because as he mentions, he saw everything coming back in Age of Ultron, and no one did anything. They're the Avengers, of course they were gonna stop him, but they didn't. Everyone has lost people. I mean, Stark lost his surrogate son, Hawkeye lost his whole family. By the way, that opening for this movie, ooh. Natasha doesn't know what to do with herself. She's frustrated and she's chronically sad or crying, and everyone is extremely emotional, and when they get reunited with someone they get emotional, when they lose someone they get more emotional. Just the focus on the emotion just elevated this movie from being just another lightweight superhero movie. So yes. Which brings me to when people saw each other again, especially when Scott saw his daughter, because I was immediately reminded of the scene in Interstellar when Matthew McConaughey sees the video of his kids growing up before him and he's not present to observe it and experiencing it. The same kind of happened with Scott Lang in this movie, and it just breaks your heart. For him, he was gone in 5 hours, and that was it. And now suddenly half of everyone is gone, and he is desperate and just hoping, just begging that his daughter is still alive. And then he sees her growing up. He's just happy and relieved that she's alive, but it also hits him really hard that he just missed 5 years of her youth. He didn't see her grow up for that age. And the same goes when Black Widow and Hawkeye meets up again. There's a lot of time have passed and have changed a lot. Tony Stark seeing Peter Parker again, Tony Stark seeing Pepper Potts again, and just every time that people meet each other after the snap, it is just well done. And I just appreciated that they took their time with those scenes and didn't rush through them. It just went, hey, you're alive, cool, let's go kick some ass. But actually took the time to show you, to convey to you that a lot of emotions is in play now, and they just believe that the people are alive or have been resurrected. And I do appreciate the fact that there is more drama and less fight in this movie. And I know that I kind of frown upon it in my review because I do want more fight, and that is still true. However, I do appreciate the decision of using drama more than using fights, to spend time more on the drama aspect, because again, this is a very depressing movie. Just the way that they implement the drama aspect into this movie and into the character scenes, just in my personal opinion, raises the stakes on everything they want to do in the time heist. Everyone is on edge, everyone doesn't know how to act in front of other people. I mean, Thor in general is a fucking mess. I mean, he has completely lost form. He's constantly drinking his sorrow away and he doesn't know what to do and he is in complete denial and everything. Tony Stark doesn't want to see Captain America ever again because he thinks everything is because of him. And Hawkeye is just going around and killing bad guys because he needs to do something. And just to me, it shows that the MCU has matured in a meaningful way. I know not every movie franchises in this epic franchise has matured in this way. Just look at Black Panther or Captain Marvel. But most of them has matured in the drama aspect, and I just appreciate the fact that they kind of went with a more adult approach for this movie. So, yeah, that's one more for that. So moving on. Then there is Steve's and Tony's journey back to the 70s. Just how they got a kind of a second chance to say goodbye or appreciate what they have lost. Because I know that Steve didn't say goodbye to Peggy in that scene, but he did get to see her and experience her one last, we thought would be one last time. Tony actually got to make amends with his father because, as we saw in Civil War, all he really wanted was to go back and say that he loved them and all that. Now he got the chance, even though that for Howard Stark it was kind of an awkward situation since this man you have never met before kind of just hugged him and talked to him by the way. But it was just nice to see him make amends with one of the demons. One of the traits that have defined their characters throughout these movies was Steve Rogers never got a chance to probably say goodbye or just comprehend the fact that he was never going to see Peggy again, and Tony Stark never managed to, after experiencing and learning a lot of things about his father and seeing a lot of him in himself and acknowledging that is the best aspect of him, say thank you for it. Just seeing these character journeys get some finality was just appreciated. And then the last three things we're going to talk about is the final part of this movie. First of all, the final fight. Wow. Damn. That is probably the most epic action battle royale sequence I have ever seen. I mean, I love the airport and I still kind of think the airport was better executed in Civil War than this one because we got to see the different superheroes, superpowers interacting between each other, whereas in here it is just we are fighting for our dear lives. The scope of it all, you really get a sense of why Thanos is so intimidating. And I know we saw him in the former movie showcasing that he is powerful, and also here without the Infinity Gems he is pretty fucking powerful. He can beat down everyone. I mean, he almost beat Captain Marvel in hand-to-hand combat, and he has, that Space Stone power thingy. But just when he lets his whole army arrive on Earth, you just go, fuck. That is the only reaction you can have because you just fucked, man. You get dunked on. And then you just see Captain America ready for just beating the ever-living shit out of Thanos, even though he's clearly outnumbered. And then everything just explodes and it's awesome. It is just awesome, especially because everything is really gritty. Just this whole movie, I can't believe it is rated PG-13 because you see heads get cut off. You see a lot of blood. Yes, most of the blood is not red, it is purple or green or anything, but you see people get stabbed, decapitated, or anything in between, you mean get cut in half and anything. But no, but it is gruesome, it is very gruesome, but it fits the tone of the movie. I just love this fight. I mean, it is a big step up from the Avengers in fights, so. But yeah, everything in this fight is pure awesome. I mean, you finally got to see instant kill mode from Spider-Man, so hey! But just every aspect of this final fight is just pure awesomeness. It's just an homage to all these heroes, and I appreciated that. So, a big one-liner. Just make it this normal size. Yeah, better. No, make it big. Make it big. It is fucking awesome. Then there is the Captain America says the famous line scene. I got goosebumps. It was awesome. Captain America has shown that he is now finally worthy of wielding Mjolnir, because in certain situations the comics have shown that Captain America is worthy of wielding Mjolnir, and we kind of saw it in Age of Ultron that he can nudge it around but can't really lift it. But here we just saw him beating Thanos' ass and get his ass beaten while wielding Mjolnir. So he's there, he's ready to face down Thanos alone because everyone else is kind of separated. He only has half of his shield. He is beaten, he is bleeding, he's using his shield to just close up a wound just so he can keep fighting because he's that badass. And then you just hear Sam, Falcon, over the intercom and you go, but where are you? Weren't you in Wakanda? How are you gonna get back to the headquarters? And then it happens. A lot of these I think it's called sling rings from Doctor Strange. A lot of these portals open up, and then every Avenger, hero, anything you have ever seen in the MCU, including the Wakanda army, is coming in onto the battlefield behind Captain America. Thor gets there, Iron Man gets there, Hawkeye gets there, and Hulk, Banner gets there. Everyone gets there and are ready. And we just sitting there. Dude, I swear to fucking... If you don't say the line now, I'm gonna rage quit. Then he just says, Avengers! And she just said, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And then in the cinema I was sitting in, because he was holding Mjolnir, an idiot just said, hammer time! And you just go, oh, dude, you idiot. No, it's not happening. It's not... Dude, you're ruining the moment. But nonetheless, then he just says, assemble, and everyone just haul ass and are ready to beat. Just, oh... That is the Thor arrives at Wakanda in Infinity War moment. That moment was just pure epicness. If you look up in the dictionary under epic, you will see that scene. Avengers assemble, then everyone... Just the fact that everyone gets there, even Pepper Potts gets her own Iron Man suit and joins the battle. Just the fact that everyone you've ever seen who is still alive throughout these 22 movies are present to fight for Earth, are present to fight for humanity. Everyone who has just come back to life, they are here to make sure that Thanos doesn't wipe everyone out to create his new universe. This pokes a big smile on me. So another big one. Bigger. Yes. Big one. Which brings me to my final point, and that is the ending. The ending of this movie, as I said before in my spoiler-free review, is the perfect ending. I mean, I loved everything about it. I loved the fact that Iron Man went out by telling Thanos that he is Iron Man before snapping his fingers. I love the fact that Captain America actually took up on Tony's words and got alive. He went back with Peggy. He got his final dance, or just he got his dance with Peggy. I love the fact that everyone important was present at the funeral of Tony Stark and it was held in private. I love the fact that everyone who died throughout these movies stayed dead. And I know that's kind of grim, but Gamora stayed dead. The Gamora we got is not the Gamora we grew up with in the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I don't know if she's gonna return or if she return to her own timeline. I have no idea, but I love the finality of everything. They find a good way to retire all the characters. Hawkeye is probably never gonna come back because he doesn't want to lose his family or want his family to lose him, so he's gonna retire for good, I'm pretty sure. Black Widow is never gonna come back, but she had a great send-off. I mean, she was sacrificing herself for all the people that she cared about. Hulk is probably never gonna come back. He damages his arm a lot, and I don't think he's gonna fight anymore because it's not in Bruce Banner to fight. Captain America is not gonna come back. Tony Stark, of course, never gonna come back. So I just love the finality of everything. I just love the fact that it paid respect to what has come before. Then you get to the end credits, and you see all of these heroes that have been present, not just in this movie, but just throughout of all movies who are still alive, of course. And you're just sitting there go, well, that's nice, but I'm kind of missing the main cast here. And then you get to the main cast and you see that they use a lot of time to just show the silhouettes and the scenes they've been in, and then the actors sign their name as kind of a farewell and thank you for being able to play these roles. And it just hit me. It hit me hard because this is their gratefulness and farewell to the series, to the universe. I just loved every part of the ending. I wouldn't have it in any other way. I didn't see the ending coming in the way it did, but I loved every aspect of it, and that is the perfect way to end the Infinity Saga. So, one more there. Unfortunately, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some aspects of this movie I didn't appreciate. I mentioned them briefly in my spoiler-free review, but I'm gonna dive more into detail with it now. But I'm not gonna take too much time because we already have used a lot of... This is gonna be a long video, I'm sorry. So in this part, I'm just gonna jump around a bit, and we're just gonna take it from there. The first part is that I think that Thanos is kind of superficial in this movie. I mean, he doesn't have that much depth that he had in the former one, and I understand why. Because here he actually see his. Well, first of all, this is Thanos from 2014, but here we see him witnessing his plan actually kind of failing. I mean, yes, he wiped out half the universe, but the other half still remember that fact, and they want to nullify the event, and he can't have that. So now he wants to destroy everything. He becomes a common villain, and he just wants to destroy everything and rebuild it. It is kind of the same mindset as the former movie, but just the way he acts in this movie, it doesn't have the same depth or complexity to it as it has in the former one. And I kind of have the feeling it's because now we just need the final fights, and we need the big baddie, and Thanos is the big baddie, so we're gonna use him there. To me, he didn't feel like the exact same character as we got in the former movie. And again, 4 years can do a lot with a character, but I just wish we got more of the Thanos we got to know in the former movie. So Thanos isn't as great as he could have been, which is the bummer, because this was supposed to be the big finale, and we kind of want the biggest, baddest villain in this one, but we kind of got a half version of him. Another thing is that the desperation aspect was played up a lot. I mentioned it before, but even so, the time heist was almost too easy, I think, because they pulled it off without any opposition. The only one who had trouble was Tony Stark and Captain America, and then they went further back and just pulled it off with ease. So I just wish that the time heist was more difficult than it was presented in the movies. The only time heist was difficult was the Voromir part with the Soul Stone. But besides that, it was just too easy in my opinion. I just wish they had to work more to get these Infinity Stones than that they did. Then there is the 5-year jump aspect. I don't think they used the 5-year jump as efficient as they could have. I mean, they do it in the first part of the 5-year jump. They show that life has moved on, but it's not the same. Everyone is depressed or anything. But besides that point, it really isn't used as much. It doesn't have as big an impact to the story as it could have been. You already established the thing is desperate and people are depressed and anything, but you don't really implement it throughout the rest of the movie as much as you could have. And I just wish that we saw more effects of the decimation. I think they call it the snap, that's the decimation, which is a stupid word. Just call it the snap. I mean, nonetheless, I wish you just saw more fallout from the snap than we did, especially since that the movie takes its sweet ass time to show you the 5 years later. I just thought that it was gonna be used more in the story than it actually did. Then there's character's journey coming to an end, and I think some of these characters didn't get enough screen time or enough time to develop. So it was kind of superficial for some of these characters, their ending. One of the Bruce Banner's ending, yes, I know he snapped everyone back, but besides that, he doesn't really get an ending of some sort. He doesn't really focus on him coming to terms with that his journey has ended, or the fact that he's never gonna see Natasha again or anything. We don't focus a lot on Hawkeye's ending. We don't focus a lot on Thor's ending. I mean, yes, he does give Valkyrie, I can't remember her name, but the Valkyrie warriors that he gives Asgard to her. But I just wish that this movie has focused a bit more on completing characters' journeys that has been going on from almost 11 years, instead of just focusing more that their journey is ending and deal with it, especially considering this movie needs to wrap up 21 movies and then itself, of course. And I know this is kind of vague explained, but I just don't think that all characters got the ending they deserve, or just focus on their ending as they deserved. Then there is the acting in some places, and I know I praised the acting before, but I do think that acting in some places is kind of wonky. Pepper Potts or Gwyneth Paltrow's acting is not the best. And just in general, I just think that the acting in Infinity War was better than it was here. Josh Brolin still kills it with Thanos, but I just feel like there was more in his performance in the former movie than it was present in here. And just in general, it kind of feels like that everyone is burned out at this point, and I understand why if that is the case, but sometimes the acting was just not consistent throughout the movie, and it just kind of bumped me out, because for the most part the acting was great, but when the acting does falls a bit, it is very noticeable. Now, this isn't a huge problem of the movie, mind you. It was just something that I noticed. Then there is the fact that some characters actually made convenient choices. For example, Pepper Potts just accepted that she was now the Iron Woman, or that Tony Stark was going to die, and that was okay. And I know she cried when he died, but still, she just accepted it. He accepted that he was going back to do the thing that would jeopardize her and their daughter. Hawkeye was just accepting that he was going to come back, even though he flat out said to Black Widow, I'm not coming back. You cannot give me hope. Or even see when Captain America does this line from the Captain America comics where he says Hail Hydra because he's with Hydra, and here it's just, a cover. And then he just, well, sure, take the case, move on with you. It doesn't really feel right. Just throughout this movie, a lot of characters make convenient choices just so the plot can happen instead of just making meaningful choices, and then the plot needs to revolve around those choices. Some of the times it was kind of a cop-out, unfortunately, which is kind of sad because this movie is very well structured and most of the choices made in this movie make sense, but then when they don't, it kind of sting out. Which brings me to the emotional part. Now, I praise this movie for the focus on the emotions, but at some aspects I don't really think it utilized the emotions enough. I wish, for example, there would be a lot more emotion surrounding Tony Stark's death or them reuniting with the lost ones. Just when Natasha dies, I know they spent a lot of time on it, but it didn't really show the group dynamic more on how frustrated they were, except for Thor, who was, fucking crazy because he was in denial. There's just some aspect where I wish there were more emotion. I just wish that Iron Man showed more emotion in his final moments with Thanos before he killed him, just showing the desperation and that this is it, this is when I'm probably gonna die, I'm gonna sacrifice myself, just anything. And again, this movie for the most part does show a lot of emotions, but I just wish that in some critical aspect that it just showed more. Then there's the villains in this movie. They're not really present, and again, it's because this movie focuses almost exclusively on the Avengers, and I understand it. But as we have seen a lot of times in the MCU, when they don't focus a lot on the villains, it just means that the villains is just kind of there to oppose the Avengers, and that is it. There's just an obstacle the Avengers needs to hurdle and then get on with their lives. I mean, we even get the children of Thanos back, but they're just there so you can recognize them in the big battlefield, and that is it. They don't do anything interesting or special or anything like that. You just recognize them, and then that is it. Then Thanos is there, he's sitting, he's waiting for the Avengers to come, and then he's gonna fight them. That's pretty much the main focus of him in this movie. And yes, I know he puts in motion his plan to take his spaceship and go through quantum realms to go back or forward in time to meet up with the Avengers and the Infinity Stones. But other than that, he's not really present, and you don't really feel his presence in the movie, except for the final fight. I just wish we feel the presence in the movie more. And I don't mean that we need to see them more on screen, but we just need to feel that them being there has some kind of impact on the heroes and their time heist. Which actually brings me to my second last point, which is the time travel. The time travel was interesting, and I like the fact that they used it, and also that they used it in a new way, because it's not gonna be like Back to the Future, or where you say you go back and you kill your grandfather, therefore you cannot live. Because as they state in this movie, if you go back to, let's say, the 70s, that is not gonna be your past, that is now your future, and the future is now your past in relative to you. I just wish they used the time travel aspect and the consequences of the time travel aspect more than they did. And also, they had to return the stones for the exact time, or shit's gonna hit the fan and the universe might crumble. We didn't see any effects of that in the supposedly 5 seconds between they took the stones and when they're gonna deliver them back. Which kind of irritated me, because it would be awesome if we saw the effects of them removing the stones and then use them here. And maybe even just show that there now are 2 dimensions. There's the dimension where the Infinity Stones and the events is not going to play out in the same way as it did here, because again, Gamora is gone, the scepter is destroyed and is now an Infinity Stone, the Tesseract is destroyed and now is only an Infinity Stone. I cannot recreate that unless they made Doctor Strange use the time stone to then recreate. But they didn't. They actually didn't, because he had all the Infinity Stones in this case. So they did. So they are not present in the past anymore. And then you get to Nebula, and Thanos and all of his men are now dead, so they're not present in the old movies. So just what I'm trying to say is that I just wish that used this aspect of the plot more, because it just has some very interesting potential in it. And then finally, this is just a nitpick, but I am gonna put it on the board. I'm just gonna make sure it is a smaller one. But that is the Stan Lee cameo. The Stan Lee cameo. This is the final Stan Lee cameo. It is brief, and we see him in the 1970s, and I wished that was not the Stan Lee cameo that we got. I wished that the Stan Lee cameo was at the funeral scene. And by that I mean we follow this camera shot focusing on all of these heroes and humans who are present at Tony Stark's funeral. We see them, we recognize them from the different movies, and then we cap off with Nick Fury, but I just wish that Stan Lee was present there to say his goodbyes to the Iron Man movies, but also the MCU, because that would have just been perfect way to cap off Stan Lee's cameos. And I know they didn't plan for him to die before the movie came out. I understand that, but I just wish they thought that Stan Lee should be present for the burial of Tony Stark. It just kind of irritates me that he didn't get anything to say that thanks for being a real hero or something along those lines. I just wished it. But again, this is not a fault of the movie. It's just a missed opportunity. It's just a nitpick, so that is why it's gonna get a small one. A smaller one. Small one. That's just a dot, just a little bit big. Yes, thank you. So, a small one. So that is pretty much my pros and cons. I could have gone into depth of a lot more aspects because this is a big fucking movie. This movie is huge. It's very huge. But this video is going on for a long ass time. I mean, even I have just been recording for almost 50 minutes now. But you're not gonna sit there and watch 50 minutes. You're just gonna watch whatever this is gonna get edited down to. But this is just some of the aspects I want to touch upon. There's a lot more I wanted to touch upon in this review, but you get the gist. All of the great aspects of this movie are enormous. They're great. This is almost the entirety of this movie, whereas these cons is just small aspects I wished were better, or it almost even nitpicks. I don't know why I'm explaining you how these series work. Nonetheless, this is a great movie. I just think they could have done a few things to make this the perfect movie to end the MCU on. But the ending of this movie is really what elevates this movie to a whole other level. So how about you? Do you agree or disagree with me on these aspects? Do we have other aspects you want to discuss? I mean, it could be that the Infinity Stone is only used to snap with and nothing else. I mean, okay, we do see Thanos getting tired of Captain Marvel's bullshit, so he just pulls out an Infinity Stone and then punches her in the face with it. But besides that, they're not really used that much. And also the fact that you don't really see a lot of hero powers used in the final fight as much as you want to. But yeah, what did you like about this movie? What did you dislike about this movie? And do you agree or disagree with my takes on it? I'm just not gonna step on it, but now I know where it is for the next time, unless I pick it up in the meantime. I don't know. Whatever you think, whatever your thoughts are about this, comment below, let me read your thoughts. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Remember to stay awesome. Bye! This is really the end of the journey. I have nothing to add. This wasn't a ride. This was an amazing ride.